Who likes ads? I hate ads interrupting my favorite shows. In an effort to keep the show ad-free, we have set up a Patreon account. The show will always be free to listen to, but unfortunately, it isn't free to produce. If you would like to donate to the show and help us out, please go to www.patreon.com/The Unseen Paranormal Podcast. That is patreon.com/The Unseen Paranormal Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to another episode of The Unseen Paranormal, where some of the scariest things are unseen. I'm your host, Eric Freeman. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Unseen Paranormal. Today we're chatting with paranormal investigator, researcher, and host of Chasing Legends, Nash Hoover. Chasing Legends is a YouTube paranormal docuseries that takes you along on the adventure as Nash and his crew research and investigate the world's cryptid legends. The show features interviews with experts and witnesses, as well as full-scale investigations into the phenomena. Hey, Nash, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, the big question is always usually with guests is, how did you get into researching and investigating the cryptids and starting the show Chasing Legends?
So I wish that it was like a, kind of like that freak encounter, had a sighting that intrigued me. I wish it was that kind of a story, but for me, it isn't. It was kind of I started researching cryptids back in probably 2002, 2003. I was in elementary school at the time. And I think I came across Bigfoot originally. It was, I think, the Patterson Gimlin film, that iconic, frame grab from the PNG film.
Yeah.
And of just, the Sasquatch walking. And it just, I was like, okay, this is interesting. This is video footage and photographic evidence of a animal that shouldn't be there. What's this about? So it kind of opened up a rabbit hole for me that I went very, very headfirst into. And from Bigfoot, I started researching Loch Ness, and I kind of got into UFOs, and I got into the ghost subject a bit. And just over the years, it went from just a kind of like a childhood fascination to an overall obsession. And I've obviously spent since then the majority of my life researching and compiling reports of different creatures from all over the planet. Eventually, in high school, I got into filmmaking, and I wanted to do that stuff. And then in 2013, I kind of found a way to, create the best of both worlds for both of my interests from the cryptids and filmmaking stuff, and we developed Chasing Legends.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I love how y'all shoot the show and kind of in that the adventure is just as important as the investigating and the evidence that you collect.
Yeah, one of my big influences was Destination Truth, and how they kind of shot that, where it was very much like you're in it, you're kind of along for the ride. And we wanted to kind of take that aspect of that and make it seem very hands-on. Like it's not so much like it's not like a typical docu follow where it's just like, the cameras, they're just documenting what we're doing. We try to make it feel very much like you are there and kind of explain everything firsthand rather than like doing a narration afterwards, and really make it seem like the viewer is there with us and showing the whole process, everything we go through, all the hurdles and the misadventures, and just really showing people what it's like to investigate these cryptids, and in case these people might be interested in doing it themselves. That way they're kind of seeing somewhat of getting an idea of what it takes to go and look for these creatures.
Yeah. So how do y'all pick what legends that you want to investigate?
I've been compiling stuff for a long time. Over the last few years, I've kind of started a list of ones that I actually felt were worthy of kind of wrapping a production around. I think we have over 50 at least, kind of different episode concepts of all on an individual cryptid from, all different corners of the world. We'll pretty much go after anything as long as we have at least one person, one credible person, one notable person, one knowledgeable person that we can interview that can give us a lowdown. And, if they have some sightings of their own, awesome. We usually try to get one expert and then at least one direct witness of whatever we kind of go after. And then for us, that's kind of that's the main factors is interviews, and then obviously cost. especially for us since it's a self-funded project. So we kind of with the case with our season 1 that we shot and released last year, we wanted each episode to kind of be varying different topics. We didn't want to have 2 Bigfoot episodes, 2 lake monster episodes. We wanted to cover kind of all aspects of the cryptid field. So we looked for the Mogyon Monster, which is Arizona's Bigfoot, Rougarou, kind of werewolf Cajun legend in Louisiana, Pukwudgies, which is like the Wampanoag tribe out in Massachusetts. That's like their little personal legend. And then we went after a champ out in Vermont. So that was kind of like that was kind of the way we picked for that. But most of the time it is just based on if you think it's interesting enough to cover. And then obviously if there's people that we can actually talk to about it.
Yeah. And I'm sure filming last year, you probably had some challenges with the pandemic going on.
Surprisingly, it went pretty smooth. I think the only issues that we had was when we shot the Lake Champlain episode, there were just some issues with, we couldn't rent our own boat to get out on the lake because all the places were closed. And there was kind of some issues with kind of scheduling certain interviews. Other than that, it went pretty great, actually. Surprisingly, we went into it, expecting it to just be a mess, and it actually worked out very well.
Yeah, I like that episode. Pretty in depth, especially with, like you were saying, talking to experts and witnesses. And even you had a kind of a dive expert on there who's been using sonar and stuff to scan the lake. Having people like that can explain it, is pretty cool to interview those type people.
Yeah, the Lake Champlain episode is probably one of our favorites in terms of the information that we were able to report. Every interview was just so good, and I know a lot of people that after that one came out, reached out to me and had the same comments. There was people that were always interested in the champ case that didn't know certain things that we were able to share. There were certain witnesses and experts that had really good information that you usually don't get talked to in these cases. So it was really good to kind of not speak to the usual suspects of experts out there.
Y'all are in different situations kind of with every investigation that you're doing. So with like the champ investigation, what was it like to go out there in this ginormous lake in the dark in these little kayaks to listen and film looking for this big lake monster?
It was honestly terrifying. It was kind of like the running joke the whole time we were out there was like, this is the stupidest thing we've ever done for this show. Like this is, and it was so hard. Like the reason there wasn't that much to that investigation was, one, we were like trying to film each other and ourselves, but we're also trying to like paddle and not tip over. So we were like trying to, do all these different things. We didn't want our gear to get wet, and we had our sound guy Jack was out there with our whole sound bag and everything. So it's like we had a lot of stuff that we could have gotten very, very wrecked, or it wouldn't have been a good day if one of us would have tipped. But yeah, it was just so hard to document that. And then it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. But yeah, it was I definitely don't unless it's like the only way we can get out on the water again doing an aquatic creature episode, I don't think we'll do kayaks again.
And then like the Rougarou being in the Louisiana swamp, the swamps in general just carry this mythic ethos in popular culture anyway, because they're so mysterious and they're just kind of creepy naturally. So what was it like being out there looking for this terrifying werewolf creature, which y'all kind of had a recreation of? That's got to be a little intimidating to be out in the swamp in the middle of the night, even though you're with people that kind of know the area.
Yeah, that was probably the first investigation I've ever done in my entire career of being a paranormal researcher that really kind of had me on edge, just because there were so many occupational hazards, as we call them, out there. We had spiders the size of our hand that were like right at face level with their webs. We obviously had alligators that we ran into. And then the other thing too is that we were stuck to this boardwalk, which one, it limited where we could go, which kind of sucked. But at the same time, it didn't give us very much room to run if we needed to. So I know when we had like our alligator encounter, when we all kind of ran away, or I shouldn't say we all, because I didn't. When my crew left me to be attacked by these alligators, they I noticed that they were all kind of like running around each other. Like whoever was faster than one would like, they kind of like jumped off of this boardwalk and kind of like ran in like what bit of dry ground there was on the side. So yeah, it was tough. We were out in this area during the day, and it was raining while we were out there, and this boardwalk was just like ice. Like it was so slippery. And luckily it had kind of dried off enough for when we did do our night investigation. Otherwise we probably would have been, in a lot more dangerous, or a lot more risk would have been involved. But yeah, the swamps are no joke. Cool though. And yeah, like you said, there's a lot of cool, kind of cool mystery to them. And especially just being in Louisiana and in New Orleans, there's just all of that kind of cool, weird history.
Yeah, and all different kinds of legends, and then you got, of course, voodoo and hoodoo and all of that stuff, and then all the different cultures kind of coming together in that area of the country just makes it all really intriguing and interesting.
Absolutely.
So another place that I found just very interesting that you have a video up on your YouTube as well was the Devil's Punch Bowl. It's kind of a really got a lot of weird phenomena surrounded it. It's kind of hard to sift through the legend and the actual fact, and just kind of an interesting, weird area.
Yeah, that one was one that we've been trying to do. We wanted to do for a long time, and we were kind of on a bit of a hiatus for a couple of years. And when we all kind of decided, okay, let's get back and let's we see if we can do this again. We're like, okay, this seems like the easiest one that we can approach. That if it's close enough to where we all live, that if we if it doesn't work out or look good, we're not going to feel bad if we don't ever air it, because there's no money involved. But at the same time, it's something that we kind of all know the gist of, just having researched it for so long and wanting to do it, that we are able to kind of whip it together pretty quickly and go out and shoot. And so the story of the Devil's Punch Bowl is it's like a line. It's just a big, huge depression in the kind of like the limestone in Menominee, Wisconsin, just outside Menominee, Wisconsin. And it's massive. Like we kind of saw pictures of it, and none of us had ever been there before we shot the episode. So we weren't really prepared for what we saw. Like like I said, we looked at tons of pictures and stuff, and we got there, and this place is massive. And all the stories are associated with it are, there's people report seeing lights and hearing weird noises. And then there's people that are reporting seeing like little people, almost like they describe them as gnomes, as kind of crazy as it sounds. But going into this, we knew, and the guy we interviewed, was very open about the fact that this is Menominee is, it's a college town. It's, pretty big college in Menominee, Wisconsin. And all the stories that we kind of came across were people having these sightings when they were down there partying. So, you kind of take that into account. Okay, there's people drinking alcohol. They're probably, doing drugs and whatever. So we kind of knew we had our hands full with kind of trying to see if we could replicate any of the sightings, or kind of trying to sift through, like you said, what's just local legend and what's actually fact. And we had a lot of kind of weird things happen, but there was nothing that we couldn't explain. And we obviously went down there clear-headed and sober. So, there was like a huge abundance of fireflies, which we're all in the Midwest, like the fireflies are everywhere. So, but none of us had ever seen that many in one area. So I'm like, okay, this could be, your balls of light that people are seeing, just because there's so many of them. And then it was incredibly humid that day. I think it was like, what was it? It was like 95 with like 90% humidity or something like that. It was awful. We were like swimming in the air. It was just soup down there. And when we got down into the actual bowl, the temperature dropped like, I would say at least 15 degrees. Like it was pretty considerable. Like it was actually like a nice, comfortable temperature when we were down there. It was still hot, but it wasn't bad, just because of the kind of the cold water flowing through it. So with that kind of temperature change, there was a lot of condensation that was forming. There was a lot of water dripping from the trees just because of the temperature difference. So it literally, there was moments where it sounded like there was things walking around us, and just felt like we were being surrounded, which then once we figured out, okay, it's just the water dripping off the trees, it was like, okay, this could, obviously attribute to a lot of people's sightings of seeing stuff. The only thing we really weren't able to kind of come to a conclusion on was the sightings of these gnomes, and I don't know, it's a weird one. And then there was one of the local legends that you need to bring like an offering of Skittles to appease the gnome creatures so they don't attack you or mess with your vehicle or whatnot. So we did that, and just to kind of go along with it. But yeah, it was funny because we went to this place and we had no idea how to get down into it. We knew there was a way because we had seen pictures. So we snaked around this area and we kind of came over the waterfall that flows into the bowl. So we're like, okay, this seems like the only way that we can get down. So we attempted to scale down this waterfall to get to the ground, which we eventually weren't able to do because we kind of got to the lowest point we could go, and it was still like another 10 feet down. So we'd seen like another path or whatever. So we sent our audio guy around just to kind of see if he could get down, which he could. And the funny thing is that there was so much fog that had formed just from the temperature change that we could see him from up top, but he couldn't see us from down below. Like, it's just a super weird area. Like, I totally can see why all these kind of stories kind of came to be. It's just because the area itself is just so disorienting.
Yeah. And is it kind of like an anomaly in the area? There's not any other features similar to that?
Yeah, there is nothing that I've seen, growing up around here. I've never seen anything like that. And, it is like a geographical, like, research area. Like, they do like testing and stuff down there. The other thing we noticed too when we got down there was like, it was so quiet. We never saw a single animal. We never saw any trace of any animals. It was just all the fireflies. And like I said, it was just like a super eerie feeling down there.
What's the creepiest place that you've been to?
I mean, Louisiana is definitely up there, just because of obviously all of the weird history of Louisiana, and then obviously being out in the swamps. That's what I would say for me personally right now. Probably the creepiest place I've been. Yeah,
and like we were saying, all the different legends and all that stuff clashing there in Louisiana.
Yeah,
all the different religions and all that. I've talked to several cryptozoologists on the show here, Ken Gerhardt and Lyle Blackburn and Chad Lewis, and they all kind of investigate lots of different phenomena in the cryptid world, but they all also have kind of their central area of research on one type of cryptid or that type of stuff. Through all your research, do you have one that you've kind of zeroed in on as kind of your favorite cryptid that you do more research than on others, or certain phenomena?
I don't have just one, and I've had a lot of people kind of like approach me on this in my kind of career doing this, that some people like it, some people are kind of weirded by it, that I don't just focus on just one thing. There's definitely ones that I will kind of obsess over for a bit. If I kind of find something and I'm like, okay, this is weird, I got to know more. When I'm not doing the show and researching all these other cryptids, I don't have just one that I kind of go back to and look into. I'm always constantly looking at tons of different ones from all over the world.
Yeah, and after researching all the legends, what's your opinion on cryptids? Do you think that some of them exist, or do you think that the good majority of them are just folklore and misidentification?
There's definitely a large amount that I've come across that I feel are just cultural misidentifications, kind of your ancient tribal stories passed down of an animal that they didn't know what it was or how to describe that is now a known animal. And there's obviously your ones that are just complete misidentifications that kind of become mass hysteria. But there are definitely ones that I've come across that I have no idea on. And I'm never one that's going to like say definitively, okay, this doesn't exist, that, is unlikely. I'm always going to look at it, very objectively and say, okay, from what I've gathered, this doesn't make sense to me. And this kind of seems like it could be this, or whatever. But yeah, there's definitely ones that I, will gladly say, I have no idea. I want all these to exist. I want all these to be, real creatures out there. But obviously there is, you have your ones that are like, you kind of hear the description of them and you're like, okay, come on. But then you get like the ones like, you get the Sasquatch and Bigfoot stories, and you get them, similar descriptions from all corners of the continent. And, these are coming from cultures that would have not known each other when these kind of stories, if you trace the stories back, they wouldn't have known one another to kind of start like a kind of global mass hysteria to these stories. So you kind of get the Sasquatch phenomenon is definitely one that I feel, just given the prevalence of it around the world, that one's definitely likely to me. Obviously, there's your different lake monster stories that there's never been any sort of evidence that's been able to be debunked or hoaxed or whatnot. And then obviously there's your extinct animals, thylacine, specifically, that was a known animal. People are still seeing it. Like, okay, they're probably still alive.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's short answer, long.
That's fine. And y'all kind of did an episode with kind of a Bigfoot story, the Mogyon Monster in Arizona, and it's called the Mogyon Monster because these sightings started happening before the term Bigfoot or Sasquatch was even kind of in popular culture.
Yeah. The first sightings go back to like the 40s, I think is what it was. And this was like before this area of Arizona was even like heavily populated. And obviously the term Bigfoot wasn't around until, the late 60s with the Patterson-Gimlin film, and Sasquatch came, around that same time. And it kind of seems to be like a similar case with a lot of these kind of Bigfoot-esque creatures, even from other parts of the world, where the sightings go back farther than the term Bigfoot or Sasquatch. So they kind of, gave it its own regional name. But yeah, Mogyon Monster, named after the Mogyon Rim, which is where the first sighting happened, and then the kind of where a lot of the sightings are kind of centralized of this creature. And when we got up there, we were not expecting kind of the terrain that we ended up in. I mean, we knew it was going to be mountainous, but we weren't expecting just vast forests as far as you could see. And the fun thing about that one was that a lot of people kind of go into Arizona thinking, oh, it's just all desert.
Right.
But it's like once you get like an hour and a half north of Phoenix, it's like you're on a completely different, like you're just in a completely different area of the country. And for me, it was like one of the most likely stories to actually exist. Like there could definitely be something out there that these people are seeing, just because the reports are so interesting, and a lot of it is very aggressive. They report, the thing kind of is very angry and aggressive, and a lot of the stories are at like campfires or, camps, and it kind of seems to be attracted or intrigued by people camping out there. So when we were doing our investigation, we split up, and the second team, we built like a base camp area out in the middle of the woods and kind of a dried riverbed, and two of the guys stayed at this campfire to see if they could kind of get any activity there. And then the rest of us went off and did our investigation kind of deeper into the woods. And we had some pretty crazy stuff happen. Like both teams were having kind of varying or similar encounters. I know the guys at the campfire had a wood knock, and we're hearing things. We kept hearing noises that seemed like it was kind of pulling us away from camp. We would hear something, kind of move towards it, stop for a little bit, then hear it kind of in a different direction farther away. So it really did seem like something was out there messing with us. And that's definitely one of the cases that I would love to like go back and do kind of more further research into with more time. I would really love to spend more time out in the woods and out there and really do some more exploring. We wanted to do more of a daytime investigation when we were out there, but the rain came through, and I think we had another interview to get to, so we weren't able to spend as much time out there as we wanted to.
Yeah, and I like how you leave stuff in there. Like I was saying at the beginning, that the way y'all film the show is kind of it's about the adventure as well as the investigations, and y'all kind of got stuck in the mud and put that in there. And yeah, some of those moments I just, because it shows how real it is that y'all are actually out there investigating and in the thick of things, seeing stuff like that, like dealing with issues like that. And then also when y'all were in the swamp, you had some issues with your piloting of your drone while you were filming.
Yeah, that was a fun experience.
But what do y'all have season 2 planned out? I know it's only been a few months since y'all put out season 1. Do you have any idea where you're all going next?
We have some ideas. We have some things in the works that we're hoping that we'll be able to announce soon. We have ideas. We know where we want to go. it's just we want to kind of do things differently this time around. We're kind of going to take a different approach to certain things, and we learned a lot of kind of from like the certain issues that we had shooting season 1. We kind of are going into season 2 with kind of an idea of, okay, we shouldn't do this, or we got to do this to do more of this. But yeah, we have some things in the works. Stuff will be coming. I just don't know when or where.
Yeah, still in pre-production, getting all that stuff down. You have anything else that you are involved with? I know you have your own production company. You doing anything else with that?
No, this is pretty much just it for right now. Kind of, this show is kind of our bread and butter, our baby. We all put a lot of work into this. It's a lot of fun. We definitely enjoy doing this. As stressful as it can be, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I can only imagine all the footage and editing and all the joys of production in general.
Yeah, it was. Someone asked me once, they were like, what's it like editing an episode? And I'm like, well, we're taking, we have, 3 or 4 days worth of production. We usually are shooting on 5 or 6 cameras almost constantly. Then we have drone footage and various other, and then we have, all of our audio that we record separately. And then we have to take all of that, which is like a week's worth of footage when you kind of take every camera and condense that down into, a 40, 45-minute episode.
Yeah. Yeah, and trying to decide what to put in there and how to have a cohesive story.
Yeah, and make it make sense and not just be kind of all chaotic and crazy.
Yeah, I as a paranormal researcher, investigator, we have DVR system that we use, and so you've got 4+ cameras that have 8 hours of footage on each of them, and
yeah, so
and then you have all this audio you got to go through, and yeah, so I completely understand that it can be tedious, but it's a labor of love for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely it's one of those things though. It's like once it all kind of comes together, it's all worth it because you can kind of see all of that hard work really pay off, and it looks good, and you just kind of hope people enjoy it.
You have any other festivals or speaking engagements you got going on?
Yeah, I will be speaking at the Van Meter Visitor Festival in Van Meter, Iowa, in September 26th. COVID kind of screwed up last year, so we didn't get to have it, and so I'll be out there with Chad Lewis, Ken Gerhard, David Weatherly, David Chochin. But yeah, it's gonna be a good time. It's a really good lineup of speakers this year. It's gonna be a good festival.
Yeah, I'll have to make it out that way sometime, and some of those festivals. We don't have as much of that stuff around here. I don't know why. I mean, we have a few kind of Paracon type deals, but nothing like those.
Same as it is up here. There's definitely not. What Paracons there are more like kind of more ghost specific. There's nothing out here that's really kind of cryptid centric like the Van Meter Festival. So it's nice.
Yeah, and I've talked to Chad Lewis and talked about the Van Meter Visitor, and he's a great guy. I would love to meet him in person. Just full of knowledge and energy, and just a cool guy. And Ken Gerhardt's a great guy too.
Yeah, Chad and I like to bust each other's balls a lot. He was the one that really kind of mentored me into the field when I kind of got started. We created the show, and I think I reached out to him to do an interview and to get information on the Lake Pepin story here in Minnesota. And then that's kind of when he invited me to come down to the second Van Meter Festival they had. So that was the first year that I went, and then I've been every year after that. But yeah, he was Chad Lewis is one of my main kind of mentors that kind of took me in under his wing and kind of guided me through everything that kind of goes into both investigating cryptids and then just being a member of the cryptozoological field and kind of how to act and stay out of certain things.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a good guy, but yeah, we always kind of go at each other, and it's a very love-hate relationship.
And everybody can keep up with the show on chasinglegendscrew.com or on YouTube.
Yep.
And I would tell everybody go check it out. I love what you're doing, and I can't wait for season 2. Check it out. They can also find you on Facebook, Instagram, Chasing Legends, all the social medias as well.
Yeah. I usually tell people go to the website, and that's kind of your one stop. It has the links to YouTube and all the social medias. So. And all of our episodes are on the website too. So if you just want to go there, everything's there. And you can subscribe to the YouTube channel to the website. So
yeah, everything's
there. It's just your one stop. And you want to know more about the who is still involved in the show since season 1. kind of your like I said, your one stop for all things chasing legends related. And if anyone has any questions or want to make comments about the show or anything, shoot me a message. I love talking with people. Always feel free to reach out.
And also, as a researcher, I'm sure you're open to people sending you their stories about cryptid sightings or encounters.
Yeah, I mean, I've been sent some pretty cool cases from people that I had not heard of that have eventually made it to my potential episode list. So yeah, I'm always open to getting stuff, even sighting reports for kind of other known ones that we maybe want to do an episode on. It's nice to have people in the back pocket that I can reach out to, like, hey, we are going to shoot an episode. Do we mind interviewing you, type of thing. So yeah, if anyone's got any cool stories about anything, bigger cryptids, lesser known cryptids, shoot me a message and let's talk.
All right, Nash. Well, I've enjoyed talking to you today. I thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a good time.
All right, everybody. As always, thank you for listening and stay safe out there. Join us next time for a new episode of The Unseen Paranormal. Until then, head over to the Unseen Paranormal Lounge on Facebook for all the latest updates and discussions about the show. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, or at unseenparanormalpodcast.com. And please rate, review, share, and subscribe to help more people discover the show. The Unseen Paranormal Podcast is proud to be the ambassador for paranormal for Verbal.com. A big thank you to my friend Chris Lips for the awesome theme music. You can find more of his music on Apple, Amazon, or Spotify. And as always, thank you for listening.
As you pass the other side.